Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and this is going to be my favorite books by Indigenous authors part 2. And I have changed my hair. I really like my brown hair, but I have also wanted to dye it pretty colors for a long time. I've dyed streaks before, but this time I dyed my whole head. So I bleached a lot of my hair, and this is inspired by an old hairstyle that Louise Pentland used to do that she called unicorn hair, where she had blonde and then streaks of blue and pink and purple. Blue and pink and purple are some of my favorite colors, so I decided to do those. You can kind of see some of the streaks of different colors in there. But yeah, some of my brown stayed as I did do this at home, so it wasn't perfect, but I really like how it turned out. So to see the rest of my favorite books by Indigenous authors, you can check out the video that will link below. I might actually use a card to link it as well. And as I said in that video, I'm leaving off Palestinian authors for this one because I have read enough books specifically by Indigenous Palestinian authors to do an entire video just about them. I'm going to pick up with books by Pacific Islanders. So first is A Cave Witch Valentines by Kaula, and this book is indie published, so I also like that. This is about a cave witch who I believe makes deals with people who come to visit her, and in this case she makes a deal to have a foursome, I think, with a trio of soldiers who have come to ask her for something, so it's an erotica, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think that one got 4.5 stars. And then Weird Blood by Azalea Crowley, who is Kanaka Maoli, and so is Kahula. Weird Blood is actually the first in a series. So far there are 3 books, but there is going to be another book, so that's exciting. I really enjoy these, and they get better as they go on. So that in the first one, Weird Blood, the prose is a little bit awkward, but it gets less so in the second book and even less in the third book, so I encourage you to stick with the series if you like everything but the prose. So this is about a young woman who kind of stumbles into being the caretaker for a vampire. This vampire is the ward of another vampire. She has dementia, and so this other vampire is taking care of her, but he needs someone to watch her during the day when he and the other vampire he lives with are asleep, because this vampire with dementia tends to be active during the day. And so our main character has a romance with one of the vampires. There's also a ghost involved and some vampire society that they get involved in, and things go from there. I really enjoy the romance. It's a relatively slow burn. This author is also autistic, and the main character has a lot of autistic traits. I'm not sure if the name of it is mentioned in the book or not. 5 stars to the series as a whole, 3.5 to the first book. Then we have Dawn Raid by Pauline Valuega Smith. This one is about Maori, or Indigenous New Zealanders. And this is about a particular time, I'm not sure what decade this was, but when the government of New Zealand would target anyone they suspected of being from one of the other Pacific Islands for deportation, and they would raid houses that they believed had these people in them. Of course, they caught a lot of people who were not even immigrants, but who were just Pacific Islanders, and would harass and intimidate them during the middle of the night, and would often grab some of them and take them away. And this is also about how there were protests against that, and it is a middle grade from the perspective of a young person. Then Prism Stalker by Sloan Leong. This one is a fantasy graphic novel about, or series of graphic novels, or it might be, the length of it might mean that it's a comic. It's a bit shorter. Beautiful illustrations. I'll put up a cover here, but it's like that. And very colorful, very strange and weird. It is about, I think, humans who have been refugees, and they are then in the country, on the planets that they're refugees to, they're being taken and forced to labor in various ways, and one of our main characters decides to volunteer for service as a colonizer of another planet to get more privileges for her and her family, as they are very oppressed where they are. And so she goes to this other planet where they're colonizing and goes to an academy to learn how to effectively fight the native inhabitants. And so it's about colonization, and it's about how oppressed people within a fascist society will can be manipulated into taking part in the fascism and the colonization and the imperialism to try to make things a little bit less bad for them and their families. So that's a very interesting theme explored through this really fun sci-fi world. I read 2 of the volumes and gave them 5 stars each. Then we have several middle grade books. So we have The Sea in Winter by Christine Day. This one is a lot about our main character having been a ballerina, and she, I believe, is injured and cannot pursue that dream anymore. She's injured in such a way that any more dancing will just make it worse, and she won't be able to complete the types of moves that are necessary. So it's a lot about her grief over that, processing it, and her relationships with her family while she's processing it. So that was, I think, really well done, and that is a thing that can happen to kids, so I think it's really good to have that be in a middle grade book. 5 stars. And Res Dogs by Joseph Bruchac. This is set during the early days of the pandemic. I believe that the main character's parents and she had lived in the city, and they felt that it would be safer to send her away to her grandparents who live in the country because there's so much less exposure to people out there. It's about the isolation from not going to in-person schooling and not going out and about much at all, and it's about her making friends with a res dog, which is very sweet. I really appreciate contemporary books that include the pandemic. I think it has been a very traumatic thing that is going to be in the core memories of a lot of people, and so it's really, I think, important that we sort of process it through literature. So I gave that one 5 stars as well. Then Sisters of Neversea by Cynthia Leidick Smith. I really like this author. This one is a Peter Pan retelling. One of the ones where Peter is a more sinister sort of character, and this involves a blended family where we have stepsisters and their mutual half-sibling. And they're all quite close to each other, so when Peter Pan comes and convinces one sister and the little boy to fly out the window with him, the other one, though being less inclined to go, decides to go after them to try to keep them safe. And so this explores lots of parts of the story, and I really enjoyed all of it. I really love a fantasy middle grade, especially one that takes that kind of twists and changes and explores classic story like Peter Pan or Beauty and the Beast or something like that. So that was a lot of fun, and I gave this one 5 stars. Jojo Mocoons is a series for younger readers. I'm not actually sure what the classification is. I should probably learn that. But younger than middle grade. It's by Don Quigley and Tara Audibert. I think Tara does the illustrations. So this one is about a young girl who's going to grade school and her experiences there. I believe I read the first book, so it's mostly set up of what's going on, and then there are the following books in the series are like Jojo Mocoons with a subtitle. I believe in this one the main character's cat is heavily featured, and I liked it quite a bit. 4 stars. Then for YA we have Elotsue by Darcy Little Badger. This main character is 17 and she's asexual. I think she might be aromantic as well. though that part is more implied, and she can see ghosts. So her uncle's ghost comes to her at the beginning of the story and tells her he's been murdered and asks her to protect the rest of his family, who he believes may be targeted by the same murderer. It's really good. I really enjoy the friendships and how much she depends on her family. A lot of YA books, the main character's family is either absent, dead, or somehow extremely unhelpful, and that's not the case in this one, and I really appreciated that. 5 stars. Then The Marrow Thieves by Sherry Dimmeline. This one is about dystopian, kind of somewhat apocalyptic world where everyone who is not indigenous to Turtle Island, I believe, are no longer able to dream, are no longer able to enter REM sleep, and so they're slowly like getting sick from this because you need REM sleep to live. And so they've been kidnapping native people, this is set in Canada I believe, and taking their marrow from their bones and using that to give it as like transplants to white people to make them able to dream again. And it harkens back to boarding schools and generally the genocide against the native peoples of Turtle Island, while telling a dystopian type adventure story. This one I think I gave 3.5 or 4 stars. Oh, I missed one of the middle grades. Healer of the Water Monster by Brian Young. This one is about a middle school boy, I think goes to visit his grandparents, and one of his relatives is ill. And I read this one a long time ago. He, I believe, figures out that if he could get a hold of the water monster would be able to heal his uncle. So he goes off into there's not a lot of people around, and ends up meeting a lot of figures from his tribe's lore. He meets them out in, I think, the desert, and finds out from them that the water monster is sick, and as the title suggests, ends up healing the water monster. Even though I don't remember the details, I did really enjoy it at the time, so I gave it 5 stars. Then some adult books. Heartbreak Braves by Pamela Sanderson. This is a indie published romance. This is the beginning of a set of connected romances that center around a community center for Indigenous people who are now city dwellers. One of our main characters is an employee here, and I don't remember who the other one was. And I don't remember what the other one does, except I think he's in a band. As I recall, this story has some messing up and making up, and I thought that was fairly well handled, and it was pretty sweet. So I gave this one 3.5 or maybe 4 stars. Winter Counts by David Heska Wandley Whedon. This is about a native vigilante who especially looks after the women who live on his reservation. I really liked it, 4.5 stars. And then The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This one I also read a long time ago, but the details are kind of seared into my mind. This is a horror book, and it is about some native people who, young men, who went hunting either in an area or at a time of year when it was only allowed for elders to hunt. A while after that, some scary things start happening. And I believe you start the story with the scary things and then have flashbacks to kind of explain the origins. So I won't explain the origins too much. It's very gory, and there is some death of pets, so be aware of that before going in. There's a reason that the website that's all about giving you trigger warnings is called Does the Dog Die? That's kind of important to a lot of people. This is one of the earlier horrors that I ever read, and it made me realize that I could actually handle more horror than I thought I could, so kind of opened the way to more horror that I've actually enjoyed more since then. So I'm grateful to this one getting me started. It was really excellently written, 4.5 stars. So those are all of my favorites, part 2. Next week starts Christmas decor, and my reading wrap up for November should be the next video, and it should be fairly sizable because my reading slump has gotten a little bit better since October. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Let me know, has your reading been slumpy lately, or have you been having a good reading fall? Bye!